Hey guys, my name is Breyonna, and for today's video we are going to talk about one of my absolute favorite types of makeup products, which is colorful and bright and kind of really fun eyeshadow palettes. If you guys haven't been following me too long or have just kind of stumbled upon my channel or just kind of have recently discovered me on Instagram, I am a pretty much eyeshadow palette junkie. Like, to be completely honest, I absolutely love bright eyeshadow colors. Like, they're my favorite to use. I use them like literally all the time. I don't ever do neutral looks much, unless you guys obviously request it, but otherwise I love using bright and colorful makeup, and therefore I have a ton of colorful makeup palettes. So before we get started, I think I'm just going to keep all the brands kind of together just to make it a little bit easier. And then in the description down below, I will kind of list them through by brand just to make it a little bit easier for you guys as well. So the first palette I'm going to talk about today is called the Zulu palette from Juvia's Place. It is a gorgeous rainbow kind of colorful makeup palette. And this palette is extremely good. Like, if you love and want to try out bright colors, I actually recommend this palette the most, since you get like a purple shade, you get a pink shade, you get a really cool green, you get a really unique seafoam green, you have your yellow, orange, and this brighter blue over here as well. This palette is a very well-rounded palette, and also I did a complete eyeshadow tutorial using all 9 shades in one look. And honestly, I just love this palette. I love Juvia's Place eyeshadows, and this is by far one of the best palettes that they have released. Though I absolutely love the Zulu palette, my absolute favorite palette from Juvia's Place is the Masquerade palette, which is this one, of course. And this is the full-size version, it is not the mini. I just love Juvia's Place palettes so much that I just got the full size because I know I'm going to use it and I love their formula. Some of my favorite shades in this palette are Makita right here, which is this gorgeous metallic purple. I like Zobo, which is kind of a deepened raspberry. And I also love Bori a lot, which is a bright hot pink shade. I also want to point out that the metallics in this palette are, to me, a dupe to the Makeup Forever Artist eyeshadows in the ME formula. I don't know what ME stands for off the top of my head, but I have a few of them myself, and these are by far like an extreme dupe to them. Like, seriously, like if you touch this compared to the ME formula from Makeup Forever, they are literally the exact same kind of like texture and everything, and they apply literally the same. What I also like about this palette is that you have, you know, your neutral row right here. So if you're somebody that just wants like a pop of color, you're getting into makeup, and you still kind of want to dabble into neutral colors as well, this palette would be a perfect one for you. The last palette I'm going to share with you from Juvia's Place is called the Magic palette. I absolutely love this palette from Juvia's Place. It's a little bit more on the cool tone side in my opinion, especially with this like bottom row right in here. And some of these shades up in here seem just a tad more cool tone than the other palettes that I own. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't use this palette as much as I do the Masquerade or the Zulu palette. It's just a little bit too cool tone for my taste. I do use it and I do love the formula of all the eyeshadows. It's just I don't really gravitate towards cool eyeshadow looks all too often. But if you're somebody that likes a cool tone eyeshadow look, this palette will be great for you. Some of my favorite shades in this palette are Suva, Feso, Yara, Aja, Vey, Osun, and Yamoja. I'm sorry if I pronounced them wrong. I'm really bad at pronouncing shades and the Juvia's Place palettes. I'm not too sure what language they are based on or like what culture, but I just want to put that out there that I really try my best to pronounce them right. But honestly, this palette is amazing. The next palette I want to share with you guys is called the Creme de Couture palette from Sigma Beauty. This is actually the first release that was released, I think, a couple of years ago, or a lot of years ago. This is one of the first colorful palettes that I ever purchased. However, they still have the palette. It was just reformulated to their eyeshadow formula that they currently provide. So I just want to point that out there that mine is the older version, but you can still purchase it from Sigma. What I really like about this palette is that they are all pastel shades, and they're all very pigmented and not chalky. A lot of pastel shades are very hard to work with. They're not pigmented enough, and they're just really hard to work with. And these ones are literally buttery smooth, very pigmented, very easy to work with and blend out. And You don't always need a base, but for me personally, I like to apply them over like a white cream base, like the NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in Milk. You, however, don't need that, but I think that they really perform well when you do, especially these super pastel shades like Violet Whip, Meyer Lemon, and Cherry Blossom. They definitely pretty much require a lighter base kind of to be able to stick to and really get the true pastel pigmentation. However, if you're looking for a great pastel palette, I highly recommend checking this one out. It is beautiful and it's really just a well-rounded palette, and I have never seen anything similar to it. One of the newest palettes to my collection is the Suva Beauty Black Party palette. I actually just recently did a review and try-on using all 10 shades of the eyeshadows in this palette. I'll link it down in the description if you're interested in watching it. However, I really love this palette, just kind of like a small rundown. I think it's very unique and I don't have anything similar to it in my collection. Some of the strong shades in this palette are Popsicle, which is this gorgeous purple shade right here. I really like Mixtape, Boombox, Dancing Shoes, and Barbecue right up in here. I think they're very pretty and honestly they're very unique as well. This was actually my first time trying out Suva Beauty eyeshadows, and I know that they have a lot of other eyeshadows available that are very bright in color, but this is just what I have for right now and I'm very impressed with the formula. The next palette we're going to talk about is the Karity Smokey palette, which is by far one of my most holy grail palettes that I have in my collection. I absolutely love Karity eyeshadows. I think they're very easy to work with, and overall they're just a really nice brand, and I love these 21 pan palettes. I think they're just honestly a great deal. What I like about the Smokey palette is that you have like your blacks and dark browns up in here. You have like your muted shades. This PDA purple shade is gorgeous. I also like Burlesque, Radioactive, Tasty, ABC, and Natural. They're all beautiful and very easy to work with, very pigmented, not patchy by no means, and you can easily blend them out. Another thing I like about Karity is that they're very affordable, and you know, if you're somebody on a budget and you're looking for great quality eyeshadows, Karity is where it's at. Another Karity palette that I own is the Frost palette, which is again another 21 pan eyeshadow palette. I will also want to point out that each of these shades is the size of a MAC single eyeshadow, and also that this palette is extremely affordable. This Frost palette is a completely like shimmer palette. There's no matte shades in it, no satins. It is completely like a frost finish, which if you're somebody that doesn't like a lot of shimmer, you definitely will not like this palette. However, I really like these like blue shades up in here. I like this raspberry shade right here. This purple is gorgeous, and I really like this like army green shade up here as well, this like mossy green. They're very easy to work with, very buttery in texture, and overall if you're looking for a really nice all shimmer eyeshadow palette, this one is great. The last Karity palette I'm going to share with you guys today is the 21 matte palette. If you are somebody that likes bright neon colors, this palette is definitely for you, especially if you like them in a matte formula. The thing I like about this palette is that you have just a wide range of color. It is pretty much a rainbow in a palette, along with like your black shades, your silvers, and your white kind of shades as well, which is really nice that they're included in this palette. Some of my absolute favorite shades in this palette are Tweety, Not Safe for Work, Zumbia, which is a literal neon pink, Alexi, which is, honestly, I have nothing like that in my collection. I also really like Wicked, Medusa, and this Jet Black. This palette is just a really well-rounded palette, especially if you're looking for like a rainbow palette. This one would be great for you. Before we get started on my Sugarpill collection, I just want to let you guys know that I have pretty much all of the old packaging or limited edition kind of palettes for Sugarpills, so they are not available in the packaging that I have. However, all the shades are available as singles or in the Pro Pan, and you are able to like create your own eyeshadow palette. I just wanted to point that out there before somebody says, well, I can't get this anymore, but you can still get the single eyeshadow form of them. You just can't get the like quads that I have right here. Oh, it's sundering out. So the first palette I'm going to talk about is called the Sparkle Baby palette. This one is absolutely stunning. I really love it, and I like how it's very pastel and it's very kind of like a springtime type of palette. These shades are seriously gorgeous. I love working with them. I even like Frostine a lot, and at first I was like, I don't really think I'll use a pastel purple a lot. However, I've been really loving it and have been using it for years, and I really enjoy the formula of it. My absolute favorite eyeshadow in this palette though is called Hotsy Totsy. It is such a beautiful kind of like a raspberry pink, but it's not super dark either, and also it goes really well with neutral shades. Another oldie but a goodie from Sugarpill is called the Cold Chemistry palette. I don't know if I consider this a bright palette, but I just still want to mention it since I do have a discontinued palette of it. But I really love this palette. It's super cool and really fun, and I love the colors of it. I believe this one was a collaboration with Amelia Arsenic, or she did the makeup of it. But this palette is stunning if you love smoky shades. I love Elemental Chaos and Subterranean. These shades are gorgeous, and also this Diamond Eyes right here is a beautiful white highlighter. My absolute holy grail quad from Sugarpill is called the Burning Heart palette, which has Poison Plum, Buttercupcake, Flame Point, and Love Plus. I absolutely love this palette. It speaks like to my inner heart of colorful eyeshadows. It was one of the first eyeshadow palettes that I have ever purchased, and honestly this one is by far my favorite. I love purple eyeshadows, I love reds, and all the colors in between, and honestly this palette is 100% matte, very easy to work with, very easy to blend out, just like other Sugarpill eyeshadows. The next quad I'm going to share with you is called the Heartbreaker palette from Sugarpill again, and this one is really pretty, and I actually bought it for this neon green right here called Acid Berry, and I also really love Mochi right here, and then this is 2 AM, and I believe this is Velocity, yes. But this palette again is completely matte, and it's very just easy to work with, and I just love the color scheme of this one. Another amazing quad I have from Sugarpill is called the Sweetheart palette. As you can see, I really love this palette, especially this matte white shade called Tako right here. Otherwise, the shades in this palette are called Afterparty, Afterparty, which is the blue, Dollipop, which is this hot pink, and Midori, which is this pretty much primary green shade right here. Or is it a secondary color? I'm not too sure. I should know this because I was going to be an art major. However, I really love the formula of this palette again. I think Sugarpill has some of the best eyeshadows and one of the best eyeshadow formulas on the market. A palette I just kind of want to mention in the scheme of things is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Moonchild Glow Kit. This palette is kind of a muted highlighting palette. They're not really like muted shades, but they're not like bright neon colorful shades either. But they are great eyeshadow toppers, inner corner highlight shades, highlighter shades just in general. But overall, I use this palette all the time with my bright neon colorful eyeshadows. What I like about this palette is that the colors are very pretty, very easy to work with, and overall they're just very glittery and really fun, and I love it for like an inner corner highlight the most, or like over the lid. It's just an overall really well-rounded palette, and even though I don't use it on my face as much as I probably should, I really love it on the eyes. The last palette I'm going to share with you guys today is the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Blood Sugar palette. I know this one isn't like completely like bright and neon and colorful, however it does have a lot of pops of color to it, and it does have a ton of red shades, which is very unique in my collection. What I really like about this palette is of course the really cool packaging, but I also really love that there's a ton of red shades in here, and there's just a lot of options to work with. But I really like this prick shade right here, which is kind of like a neon red, almost kind of a little bit orange. I love this shade. I think this is Cavity, which is this bright neon pink shade. And I also like Root Canal right here, which is a really nice purple. But overall, this palette is just a really gorgeous formula. It's really easy to work with, very buttery. However, it does have a little bit of kickback to it if you aren't someone into powdery eyeshadows. However, this palette is just, I just love this palette so much that I had to put it in here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and seeing some of my absolute favorite bright and colorful eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. I know this isn't every eyeshadow palette that I've used on my channel or you guys have seen me use on Instagram. However, these are the ones I use and love, and a lot of them are my holy grail as well. Let me know down in the comments down below some of your favorite colorful or bright eyeshadow palettes or ones that you're looking to purchase in the future. I love to hear what you guys use as well. I would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below, and if you would like to follow me on all our social media websites, my Instagram account is at @lethal_kitten. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye!